To begin with, the reason at this point that American action is important is because we're the second biggest at this point emitter of carbon, and since carbon lasts 100 years, we're by far the biggest source of what's up there at the moment, and in per capita terms, we're the biggest emitters by far. No one's ever going to quite catch up with us there, I don't think. So what we do has both great physical leverage, but also great moral leverage. I mean, we're the place where this problem started. If we can't agree to do something about it, it's a bit rich to ask the rest of the world to do something. That said, if we do act, it's still going to be hard for the rest of the world, the poor world, to act, because I mean, when we talked before about the ethical, sort of issues on the other side, jobs in America doesn't strike me as the key one, because as I say, I think we can produce lots of jobs doing the right thing. The gulf between rich and poor in this world, the power of the fossil fuel industry is one of the two huge obstacles we face, and the other is the gulf between rich and poor in this world, which was always a sin and is now a tremendous practical obstacle to getting done what we need doing. Because if you're in China or India or any place else right now, the cheapest, easiest way to repair poverty is to do exactly what we did, which is burn a lot of coal, because it's lying around and it's cheap, okay? And we have to, both out of practical necessity and out of moral necessity, figure out how to help those developing parts of the world to leapfrog the fossil fuel era and go straight to the energy future. To do with energy what people did with, say, communications, where we skipped the telephone pole stage and went straight to cell phones. It's going to be harder here because it's more expensive and whatever else, but it's quite possible to imagine and begin to see village-scale solar, that kind of thing emerging. And it's quite worth remembering that other countries have begun to make really far more interesting commitments to a renewable energy future than we have. I did a long piece for the National Geographic last year on China and energy. China obviously has made lots of mistakes emulating our model, putting up lots of coal-fired power plants. They've also done more than anybody else in the world on renewable energy. By far the biggest installed renewable capacity in the world, a huge percentage of our renewable capacity, is solar hot water heaters in China. 250 million Chinese, 25% of Chinese get their, when they take a shower in the evening, the water is coming from solar arrays on the roof, compared with less than 1% in this country. Most of ours, in fact, most of that 1% goes to heat swimming pools. The thing that really brought home to me the craziness of this was a day spent with a guy named Wang Ming, who runs the biggest of these solar hot water companies, Solar. A very rich man now, but an engineer and a good guy. And we talked for the afternoon, and then he was describing his little sort of private museum of artifacts, and some of them were pictures of him with world leaders and the sort of stuff you'd expect. But the place of pride was to a kind of rusting solar panel. Said, do you know what that is? No. That's one of the solar panels that Jimmy Carter put on the White House in 1979 to generate hot water, and that Ronald Reagan took down in 1985 because he wanted, manlier forms of energy than that. When I saw that, I was, it just sort of brought home to me our political failure and the fact that we could lead in a different way.